Is Prime Minister Trudeau about to face a shocking criminal prosecution? A new court application says yes, and it could expose a massive cover-up by Canada's top law enforcement agency, the RCMP. Today, we're going to dive into the SNC Lavalin scandal, the shocking failures of the RCMP investigation, and why a private group, is taking legal action to force a case against Prime Minister Trudeau. Stick around because this could change everything. To understand what's happening with this shocking case, let's rewind back to 2018 when a company called SNC Lavalin was now facing a criminal corruption charges over bribery charges linked to dealing with Libya, doing building over in Libya. They're a construction engineering type firm. SNC Lavalin was charged in 2015 with fraud and corruption for allegedly bribing Libyan officials in Libya, including the regime of Muammar Gaddafi. Yeah, that name has come back again. These bribes took place allegedly between 2001 and 2011 over a 10-year period. And the company was accused of paying $48 million in bribes to secure very lucrative government contracts in Libya. And they're also accused of defrauding the Libyan government of some $130 million. Those were the allegations at the time. And the Attorney General, Jody Wilson-Raybould, she did not want to defer on these charges. She wanted to proceed with them. And that's where the Prime Minister intervened on the behalf of his friends in SNC Lavalin. This is where the case of obstruction of justice began.
Allegations in the Globe story this morning are false. Neither the current nor the previous Attorney General was ever directed by me or by anyone in my office to take a decision in this matter. We have been consistent that Canada is a country of the rule of law that respects the independence of the judiciary and always will.
The prosecution was moving forward on these bribery charges until Prime Minister Trudeau and his office allegedly pressured the then Attorney General, Jody Wilson-Raybould. She was pressured to stop the prosecution. She refused. She was then shuffled out of that position. She was removed from that position, shuffled out of her role, leading to much political chaos, to resignations, and just a national scandal. You know, in a way, not that different than when Biden moved off the prosecutor that was looking into Burisma. Similar sort of corruption is alleged here for Canada with Prime Minister Trudeau. At the heart of this controversy are allegations of obstruction of justice, which are very, very serious, interfering with a legal case for political reasons. If proven, that's a criminal offense in Canada. But despite overwhelming evidence of this criminal charge, the RCMP never charged Trudeau or his staff. And now a group is saying that that decision was deeply flawed. Now here's where things get really interesting. The RCMP did investigate. Now they're the federal police, like the equivalent of what the FBI would be in the States, but they report into the Prime Minister essentially for doing it. They did investigate, but according to this group called Democracy Watch, much like Judicial Watch is down in the States, that investigation was weak, it was delayed, and it was riddled with problems, is what they allege. The RCMP for this investigation apparently only interviewed only four of the 15 key witnesses. That's right, 4. And they never obtained crucial cabinet documents. At the time, the press was rife with stories and saying, well, why aren't you getting the documents on this and finding out from the PMO's office what he actually did? They never obtained these records, and the government is still hiding testimony. The RCMP is still hiding testimony from Jody Wilson-Raybould and her chief of staff and her former cabinet minister, Jane Philippot. Instead, the RCMP reportedly just took Trudeau's public statements at face value and made the decision behind closed doors with little transparency. And that, if that sounds suspicious, it does to most people. You're not alone in thinking that. You know, this is not unlike Biden's claims that he never did anything wrong with the Ukraine and Hunter never did anything wrong, and as if it was never investigated to see what, in fact, Biden actually did and what Hunter actually did. These are the accusations now facing Trudeau. And that's the reason that this group called Democracy Watch is taking matters into their own hands. They have just filed an application in an Ontario court to proceed with a private prosecution against Trudeau. That's a private prosecution because the police didn't do it, no one else was doing it. So they're taking these steps to go to the court and lay a private prosecution charge. A private prosecution allows a citizen to bring criminal charges when the government won't. And they have backup. This group has backup. They have a retired Superior Court judge who reviewed all the evidence in the case that they've put together, Democracy Watch. And he believes there's more than enough evidence to prosecute for an obstruction of justice and a breach of trust. And that is just huge. Interestingly, this retired Superior Court judge wants to remain anonymous at this point because of the repercussions that could come from going up against someone as powerful as the Prime Minister. So what happens now? If the court approves this application, Trudeau may have to face these criminal charges in open court. Now, private prosecutions have always been possible in Canada. Anybody can go in front of a justice of the peace, which is a very lower form of a judge, and make a complaint that someone had committed an offense against them if the police weren't going to lay the charges or they wanted to see that it was dealt with. And if the court believes it, then a warrant is issued for those charges and the case comes up in court. This is where we are with this one. The private group has brought these criminal charges and the case and the backup with an analysis by a retired Superior Court judge that says there's reason to believe that these charges need to be laid. This is huge. I mean, this story is far from over. A court is now going to decide whether Trudeau should face criminal prosecution, and the implications could be massive. So what do you think should happen to Trudeau? Should he be held accountable for this SNC Lavalin scandal? Should it be brought up in court? Does it deserve to be looked at? Should there be an inquiry into the RCMP and why they did not investigate, allegedly, to the degree that they should have, that they didn't really do their job? Leave comments below for me so I can hear what you have to say about this. Make sure that you subscribe and follow my video channel at the McLean Chronicles if you want to get more updates on this and other criminal cases and just the different interesting things around crime, power, and politics that are going on in the world today.